Welcome to today's ABP Webinar event, utilizing dynamic partnerships to ignite innovation in Africa. I am Lee Clegg, President of the Africa Business Portal, and I will be your host and moderator for today's webinar. There are just a couple of housekeeping items. Following today's presentation, there will be a Q&A session. Please feel free to submit questions that you might have for our panelists using the control panel. We anticipate webinar time constraints will only allow us to respond to general questions, so we encourage you to utilize chat features to enable individual communications with the panelists and the organizations. The panelist organizations have made arrangements to respond to your questions during and after the webinar. Today's webinar will be ready for on-demand viewing within the week for all webinar registrants. If you enjoyed today's webinar, please be sure to join us next month for our webinar, Safer Entry Point Botswana. Our distinguished panelists will be Ambassador David Newman of the Embassy of the Republic of Botswana in Washington, D.C. We encourage you to sign up for our newsletter to find out as soon as this webinar opens for registration. And now for our webinar. The mission of Africa Business Portal is to reduce barriers to trade and investment in Africa, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises in Africa, North America, Europe, and Asia. The lack of perceived success in doing business in Africa has been a barrier to entrepreneurs. We are fortunate to begin an Africa Success series with a company whose technologies have connected billions of people and whose partnering approach can have immeasurable impact. We have with us Kyle Moss, Government Affairs Program Manager and Head of Global Entrepreneurship for Qualcomm. Kyle, would you introduce the Qualcomm team that will be our presenters today?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lee, for doing that introduction and for having us on board. So as you said, my name is Kyle Moss, and I come from Qualcomm's Wireless Reach initiative. We also have with us Bienvenue Agbakponto Soglo, who is also on the Qualcomm team for Government Affairs in Sub-Saharan Africa. And then you'll hear from our Wireless Reach partners. Oke Okuzu, who works for Instrat Global Health Solutions and implements a program in Nigeria. Next, we'll hear from Sam Rich, who works for Elimu, and he will talk about our education program in Kenya. Lastly, we'll hear from Berhani Jabru, who works for FHI 360 and implements a program alongside of us in Senegal.
Thank you, Kyle. Bienvenue. We're thrilled to be able to turn the time over to you for give us a perspective of Qualcomm and Qualcomm Wireless Reach and their impact in Africa.
Thank you very much. I would like to give a brief introduction to Qualcomm and Qualcomm business model. Secondly, I would like to talk about our government affairs initiatives in Africa and what we do in Africa. And third, I would like to talk about how I lean on wireless reach programs to help aid our work here. So Qualcomm's technology connects you wherever you are on the planet. We design wireless chipsets, license technology, and provide communication products and services around the world. Headquartered in San Diego, we have more than 30,000 employees in more than 175 locations worldwide. For more than 30 years, Qualcomm's ideas and inventions have driven the evolution of digital communications, linking people more closely to information, entertainment, and each other. As the line between consumer electronics, computers, and mobile communication devices disappears, Qualcomm is redefining the way people incorporate wireless devices and services into everyday life. Qualcomm's business model is based on 3 pillars: inventing new technology, sharing it widely, and collaborating with all the players in the mobile ecosystem. So in terms of collaboration, we collaborate with carriers that have specific cultural or geographic requirements for network, voice, data, and device operations. We work closely with developers to help them bring their innovative ideas for new mobile capabilities to life on Qualcomm technology. We collaborate with semiconductor manufacturers to drive technology evolution and growth. We test and certify components from many vendors to help them avoid making first-time mistakes. We work with non-government organizations and governments to create policies and regulations that drive standardization across the industry. So by sharing not only our technology, but our knowledge too, we can foster the growth of the mobile ecosystem. In Africa, our government affairs initiatives are mainly focused on two key areas. The first one is partnering with stakeholders, including operators, regulatory agencies, and other government entities to enable the provision of advanced mobile broadband devices and enable the provision of applications and services to consumers and enterprises. Secondly, we seek to support the ICT industry's continued strong economic growth by engaging in dialogue with government authorities that promotes sound public policies and addresses emerging regulatory, policy, and legislative issues. So in my role, I support the development and implementation of plans, policies, and strategies of Qualcomm's government affairs in West and Central Africa. I interact with government officials, regional economic communities such as ECOWAS or ECCAS in Central Africa. I interact with regulatory associations such as the West Africa Telecommunication Regulatory Assembly. And I also interact with industry partners to help facilitate the creation of enabling policies and regulations for the development of ICT and mobile broadband. In addition to that, I also interact with the International Telecommunications Union, the African Telecommunication Union, etc. So coming to the Wireless Reach program and how it aids our work in Africa. First of all, at Qualcomm, we believe that access to 3G, 4G, and next generation mobile technologies can improve people's lives. So our goal is not only to bring the most advanced technology to the market, but also to bring the technology to where it is most needed. That is what prompted Qualcomm to develop Wireless Reach, a strategic initiative that brings wireless technology to underserved communities globally. And Kyle will talk a little bit more about that. Among these Wireless Reach programs, I'm actually involved in the Nigeria Clean Impact 360 program, which is in the area of healthcare. And I'm also involved in the Senegal Wireless Solutions for Fishery program. And my role is to guide Wireless Reach into successful partnerships. In addition, actually these programs help us demonstrate the diffusion of mobile broadband, or ICT, in key priority sectors of the Nigerian and Senegalese economy, and thus shows the potential expansion of the concepts into other key sectors for an increased use of mobile broadband. Therefore, such programs help facilitate the creation of enabling policies and regulations for the development of mobile broadband.
Thank you, Bienvenue. Kyle, I've had the advantage of in-depth discussions with everyone on the panel today. Africa Business Portal has had numberless interactions with individuals and companies doing business in Africa. I have not heard another initiative with greater potential to impact than the one you will be sharing. The way you have supported entrepreneurs and shareholders is incredible. What I heard from these programs was, you are adaptive to changes on the ground, approvals are not cumbersome, your meetings every 2 weeks cross-pollinate the creative process, you bring top-level technology support when needed, Qualcomm uses their media platforms to market key events and awards, and Qualcomm does not impose their will, but encourages thinking outside the box. They shared outstanding results fostered by this approach. What is Qualcomm Wireless Reach, and how is this incredible approach implemented?
Well, thank you, Lee. You definitely make it sound really exciting, too. I love when you wrap it up in a nice bow like that. And you're exactly right. We are a really exciting initiative that we consider a strategic social responsibility initiative at the corporate level. And as we just heard from Bienvenue, we sit within the Government Affairs program here at Qualcomm. And there's many reasons for that, but before I go into that, I just want to talk a little bit about what is Qualcomm Wireless Reach, like you said, and how do we choose these grantees that we're going to hear from today, and why, and what do we require of them? So what you'll see on your screen is a little bit about how Wireless Reach brings the Qualcomm the story to life, excuse me. And what you'll see is that we utilize Qualcomm technology, our licensing, our R&D, our innovative solutions that use wireless communications, and we take those and we utilize them through these Wireless Reach programs that ultimately end up demonstrating to both governments and to local organizations and other stakeholders how wireless technology can improve lives and how it has a positive impact on so many different people. And we never hide the fact that, again, ultimately we're also strategic. And these programs end up being a reputation builder for Qualcomm, and they support our business model. A lot of people do ask, though, how do you become a Wireless Reach partner? Or how do we come alongside Wireless Reach? Or how do we receive funding from Wireless Reach? And you'll hear from some of our partners today, but some of the criteria that we use to determine if we can partner with a new organization, and we do that on an annual basis, but this is how we would look at them and how we would evaluate a program together. The first criteria that we use is to really clarify how are we using mobile technology to demonstrate the improving of lives in some way, shape, or form. And we do that in 5 different vertical areas. So you'll see the second criteria is that it has to be aligned with an education, entrepreneurship, healthcare, the environment, or public safety. In some realm or some way, shape, or form, all of our program efforts fall under those umbrella areas. A third criteria that we use is that we have seen the huge success of partnerships. So not just the partnership between us and a main grantee, but even beyond that. You'll hear from Oke Okuzu, who is a third-party partner in our Nigeria implementation and is an implementing partner. So there's a ton of different unique approaches to these programs that involve partners like OEMs or a mobile operator partner or even a Ministry of Health or Education. Every different program is unique and it has a different set of partners, and we are truly part of the belief that without partners and without these partnerships, we would not be as successful as we are. The 2 last criteria you'll see on the screen are that every program that Wireless Reach invests in is also aligned with a government strategy. So if there is some specific strategy behind a government or a Ministry of ICT to implement mobile technology, then certainly we want to provide an example of how we can do that with local partners. And lastly, all of our partners and programs must come to the table with a plan for scalability and sustainability once they've had Wireless Reach investment of a period of 3 to 5 years. We certainly want to ensure that we're not dropping solutions that aren't locally relevant, that just go nowhere. We want to ensure that a pilot program may turn itself over and into something that has its own legs and can live on after our involvement may be completed. Up next is just a little bit of a quick idea of how large our initiative is right now. We've now reached 119 programs in almost 50 countries. And again, the stakeholders number that you see on the screen is 660. So in that 119 programs, it has taken the involvement and the heavy efforts behind all of these stakeholders to ensure success in each of these individual programs. And we believe that that is the best way to approach this type of work. And ultimately, we're really proud of that last number, that these programs have now touched and benefited 11 million people worldwide. For a further breakdown of that global portfolio, here's on your screen a number of where these programs fall, both regionally and in the vertical area. You'll see that in Sub-Saharan Africa, we've had 10 programs. In North Africa as well, that's connected to above, you'll see 5. And that also, our most common topics of program interest or area is the education and healthcare sectors, followed closely by entrepreneurship. Next up is just a really good reminder of why we work with these partners so closely to ensure right from the beginning that they are tracking their impact and measuring their success in a way that we all agree upon. You would know as a Wireless Reach partner right from the beginning, what are your outcomes? And we would agree like, yes, this is what we want to do with this grant funding and this is where we want to be. But how do we get there, and who's doing what, and who's inputting what into this program to ensure its success? And when we do that, and we take a very, very serious look at monitoring and evaluation of these programs, our grantees on a quarterly basis will report back on the success that they're having. And some of that is kind of seen on this slide in that, okay, when we're putting in $1, what are all the other stakeholders or partners putting in, and how does that help a program? And you'll see some of the other data that we're able to pull and we're able to demonstrate for anyone that's interested in how our portfolio has evolved over our 10 years of our existence. So again, just some of the ways that we approach these partnerships and that we're affecting the mobile ecosystem with these wireless reach implementations. Next up, what you're going to hear is you're going to hear examples of these programs from our actual boots on the ground. Oke Akuzu is going to talk through his implementation in Nigeria, working with healthcare and mostly with maternal health, but now we'll talk a little bit more about the growth of that. Next, you'll hear from Sam Rich, who talks a little bit about an education program where we use innovative and engaging learning solutions on tablets for middle school students in Kenya, or primary school students, if you will. And lastly, we'll hear from Burhani Jabru, who is going to talk a little bit about FHI 360, the organization he works for, and how we get to develop a mobile application that is used by fisher and fish processors in Senegal. So I'm really excited for you to hear examples, 3 examples of our wireless reach programs, and I'm excited for you to hear the stories of those that are implementing on the ground.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. Wonderful introduction, and we'll now turn the time over to Oke for his presentation.
All right, thanks Lee, Kyle, and bienvenue for the opportunity to introduce Instrat Global Health Solutions and the work that we do in delivering better health in low-resource settings in Nigeria. I'll start by telling you who we are and what we do. Our goal is to overcome barriers to healthcare delivery in low-resource settings presented by infrastructural challenges. We leverage mobile health technologies to facilitate a smooth flow of information across the healthcare system for more effective patient health management or policy decisions regardless of the physical location of the healthcare facilities. Instrat is run by a passionate group of professionals that share an enthusiastic appreciation of the advancements in health delivery capacity that technology can enable in Africa. Our work centers around the support of 3 broad products. The first is electronic healthcare data management, and that is it's offered under a brand name Clinipack, which is a software product that's developed by Vecna Care's Charitable Trust. We also have our mobile health worker training platform, which we deploy under the name VTR Mobile Training, and our electronic disease surveillance product, which is EWAS, an acronym for Early Warning Outbreak Recognition System. These technologies have the combined impact of significantly reducing urban to rural healthcare service disparity. So, in terms of how we get to achieve the limited success that we've achieved to date, the first thing that we do is that we actively pursue and secure government participation in all our projects, from planning to execution to delivery stages. The next is that we hire all our staff from local communities where we work, and this allows us to get into the local cultural nuances, some of which can be fed into project design and execution imperatives. We also ensure that products that we deliver and projects that we embark upon are not for financial benefit, but projects that address clients' pain points that have been explicitly identified to us. And in delivering our turnkey implementations, we employ proven frameworks for design, execution, and sustainability planning. So we have seen quite a bit of growth over the few years since we started our implementations in 2013 with 3 sites. In 2016, we're currently in 150 with an anticipated footprint in over 1,000 healthcare facilities by the end of this year. And our work has allowed us to witness, or quite frankly, drive significant improvements in technologically disadvantaged communities in remote Nigerian states. They have better access to healthcare solutions and services. They have tangible gains towards healthier living and well-being and stronger health systems. We've also created a healthcare improvement model that can be extended into other parts of Nigeria and other countries with similar health system characteristics. And we've demonstrated sustainability by having a few state governments take over the funding and scaling of the services that we provide. And we have been able to have the following impacts over the last few years. First, we were able to prepare frontline healthcare workers for Ebola virus disease using an electronically delivered tutorial. We did a successful electronic surveillance on a methanol poison outbreak in Ondo State, Nigeria. We've successfully piloted and are now scaling an innovative mobile training application, and that is VTR Mobile. And we have attained quite a bit of international recognition, including some of those listed right here. A picture, they say, says 1,000 words. So I think it's best that I take you through our story in pictures so that you can appreciate the context in which we deliver our services and the places that we deliver them to. And so the first picture is a signboard for a typical community basic healthcare center. This picture actually shows a really rustic, dilapidated sign that's emblematic of the structure and the system behind this sign. In this picture, our staff, is on her way to training healthcare workers in a remote setting. And this is a picture that has her pondering how to get through this terrain. Some of the places that we go to can only be accessed by boat. And so we have two of our workers going on a canoe to these healthcare facilities. Sometimes we have to travel over very difficult roads, and the pictures here tell that story. On the left is a picture of our vehicle stock in Kano State, Nigeria, and on the right is a picture of another one of our project vehicle stock in Ondo State, Nigeria. Regardless of how difficult it is, we will get to the destination. Sometimes we get there quite exhausted, but we always arrive with our equipment because that's what we require to ensure that infrastructure is available for electronic communication. We're always received enthusiastically by people in the local community, healthcare workers, and patients alike. Every time we train, we get full attention. We don't always have the best facilities to train in, and so we train where we can get a roof and access to somewhere to put up a screen and train workers. In this case, we're training in a church, and we train in large settings, as you can see on the right, and this is a semi-outdoor training venue, or sometimes we just get a group of healthcare workers together, as you can see on the left side, and train them. But it's all comes down to making sure that we have point of healthcare data capture, as well as training healthcare workers remotely. The workers are always captivated, and we've even used mobile video to supplement ANC knowledge sharing. When we encounter facilities that are completely off the power or 3G grid, we leverage satellite for internet and solar for power. And all of these result in very happy Ministry of Health officials who are now able to base decisions on accurate real-time data and able to also be assured of better trained healthcare workers. Thank you.
Sam, we are thrilled to have you here today and thrilled for you to be able to explain what Elimu is doing to impact education in Kenya.
Thank you very much, Leland. Well, so what I wanted to start by saying was that the standard technology talk that you get is one about how technology is going to solve all our problems. But the truth is there's a great big question mark hovering over technology in education, not just in Africa, but in the US, in Europe, and globally. So the problem is this: you can take an educational app and you put it in a trial in a few schools, and you will see dramatic improvements in results. This is true of dozens of apps, and it's true for us at Elimu as well. But when you scale up to a district or to a country, you do not see those dramatic improvements anymore. There was a big report last year on dozens of EdTech rollouts in different countries by the OECD, and it said that in terms of students' results, there was, and I quote, no noticeable improvement in their performances. So the question is this: why are EdTech programs working in pilots, but not working at scale? My name is Sam Rich. I work for Elimu, which is an e-learning startup based in Nairobi, Kenya, a city that has become a hub for technology entrepreneurs in an area that is now known as the Silicon Savannah. Elimu was set up in 2012 by two young Kenyan women, Nivi Sharma and Marie Kathinji. They used their own savings to build a prototype that looked something like this. They partnered with a textbook publisher and built an app that not only covers the entire Kenyan curriculum, but also covers life skills and new topics like the environment, financial literacy, and nutrition. They tested the app in a small local school, and it was immediately obvious that there was huge demand and that the children were fascinated by the app and the lessons inside. After just one term, results in science improved by 15%. So we teamed up with Qualcomm Wireless Reach, and that gave us the opportunity to run the first full-scale pilot of a one device per child model in a Kenyan primary school. Now, what normally happens on a pilot program is you handpick a school with a great head teacher, with good infrastructure, with lots of resources, with young, motivated teachers, and above-average students. And then you give the teachers a few months of training, and then you hold their hands all the way through your pilot. And that's how you get great results. But that's also why those results are not scalable. So we didn't want to create one of those perfect pilots. We designed what we call a real-world pilot. We went to a big Kenyan government primary school with 150 students in each year, based in a police barracks in an underserved area of Nairobi. That school was Embakasi Garrison Primary School. We gave the teachers just a 2-week training. We gave 37 tablets to 37 teachers and 250 tablets to 250 students in the top 2 years of primary school, and they were being used the very next day. And this is what happened. So the average teacher at Embakasi was in their 40s, 50s, or 60s and taught for 20 or 30 years already, and they had never used a computer even to write up their own CV. So even after those 2 weeks of training, the children started picking up how to use the tablets faster than the teachers. Kenyan teachers are used to traditional methods of teaching, what we call the chalk and talk method of lecturing from the front of the classroom. But teachers became intimidated, first by the technology itself, and then by the realization that technology made it harder to control the classroom and the children, and that it was itself a challenge to their authority. And that's why, even today, you can find schools all across Africa which have devices which are never used and never come out of the cupboards. Now, when we told teachers that we had put textbooks inside tablets, they stopped using their textbooks. But technology, of course, isn't there to replace textbooks. Technology is a tool like books and maps and charts that the teacher uses together with other tools to create a lesson. What we saw at Embakasi was that when we gave teachers tablets, they thought they could throw out their textbooks. And when they realized they still needed to use other resources to create a lesson, they were kind of disappointed. Now, the logistics of technology, especially when technology is new to you as a teacher, is a huge task in itself. Charging tablets, giving them out, turning them on, getting 50 kids all on the same page can take 10 or 15 minutes of your lesson. And then collecting them up and putting them back can take out another 10 minutes. And all this time you're afraid they're going to break them, you're afraid you're going to break them. And if half your lesson is spent getting technology out and putting it back, then it's never going to work. Security. Another problem we faced was security. Now, all the tablets were locked up in a storeroom and never left the school. But one night, some students climbed up to the ceiling vents and crawled over 3 classrooms to the locked storeroom where the tablets were kept, jumped down and stole 48 tablets. Although, having said that, because we were on a police barracks, when they were caught trying to sell them the next day, and we got all those tablets back. But it was a big wake-up call to us about the very real problems of security. One interesting result we saw was that enrollment at Embakasi increased by 10% each year of the project, which is a really good thing for a public school. But what this meant was that students who initially had one tablet each now had to share resources. Government policy says that parents are not allowed to pay for extra services at a government primary school. So if you want to create a sustainability fund to pay for repairs, to pay for maintenance, to pay for replacements, at the moment, because of the legislative infrastructure, this simply isn't possible. And yet, despite all these issues, we still have some amazing stories from both students and teachers. We found that students who felt shy in class were able to learn at their own pace and come back to content again and again. We found that once children saw that they could use technology for learning at school, they started using their parents' smartphones at home to do the same thing. We found that the animations on our tablets not only engaged children, but actually helped them to retain new information. And after a year, enrollment had gone up, and Embakasi Garrison Primary School in its national exams achieved its highest ever marks in science. Now, the reason why this is all important is that right now, the government is spending hundreds of millions of dollars on bringing technology into Kenyan schools. Now, universal primary education has only been around in Kenya for 15 years, and during that time, thousands of schools have been built, and 1 million children go through that system every year. But these gains in quantity of students have not been matched with gains in quality. There are all sorts of statistics about the problems in Kenyan schools, which I won't go into. But now the government has bought 1.2 million tablets for every child in the first year of 23,000 primary schools. So how are we going to make sure that teachers are empowered to use them? How do we make sure that the lessons we learned in one school are taken on board in each of these 20,000 schools? How do we make what many people see as a political program lead to an educational success? Well, the first answer is training, training, and more training. So we've gone from what was initially a 2-week training to a 6-week training, which takes place over a year. We give teachers more time on task. We give teachers the time to build confidence. We give them the time to get stuck in a safe environment with lots of support and backup, and the time to discover how to fix things, how to find answers, and how to get comfortable using the technology. But our real aim is to show them that technology is not just for the children, it's for them as teachers as well. Technology should be making a teacher's life easier, and if it's not working. If we can show teachers how to make lesson plans and mark sheets, how to develop their own teaching materials, then this gives them the confidence to go on to use technology in the classroom. We created a platform that we call DigiLessons that allows teachers to create their own content and to store it online and to share it with other teachers, making everyone's lives easier. Now, this is a lesson created by a teacher called Alice. You might be shocked to hear she's in her 60s. She's a grandmother, and she's one of over 30 teachers now that have created lessons and put it onto this platform that now has over 250 lessons that are being shared and used by teachers all over Kenya. And Alice had never used a laptop or a tablet before this program, and now she's one of our best teachers who produces a whole range of fantastic lessons. And what I really wanted to say is that once teachers take ownership of the content on the tablet, then they start taking ownership of the technology itself. And that's when technology really starts to work in a school. And that's what we need to do if we want to make sure that technology isn't just a nice thing to have in schools, but actually leads to improved educational outcomes. And if Alice can do it, anyone can do it. Thank you very much.
Berhane, we're thrilled to have you here today and grateful you're willing to share with us the success of your FHI 360 Fisheries program in Senegal.
Thanks so much for having me. My name is Berhane Gabru. I work for FHI 360, and I'm very pleased to share the experiences from our wireless solutions for fishery in Senegal, or WISE project. Fisheries in Senegal is a very important sector. It represents about 70% of animal-based protein intake of the population. It employs about 17% of the workforce in the country. It contributes about 11% of the primary GDP. So it's a very important economic sector for the country. And artisanal fisheries who catch about and process about 90% of Senegal's fish are the most important. So artisanal fishers are those who use traditional undecked canoes using non-mechanized gear and use only ice and salt for the preservation of their catch while in the ocean. But the artisanal fishery is not limited only to the fisheries and fish processors, and of course the fishers would catch the fish, sell it to fishmongers who are also in this value chain. They also sell it to wholesale sellers, to wholesale buyers, who would then sell it to the in the retail market. There are the fish processors who would buy from the fishers, do the processing using different techniques such as smoking, drying it with salt, drying it without salt, fermenting it and drying it, and so on. And the fish processors sell their product within Senegal's population as well as to other West African countries in that region. But the artisanal fishery, they face key challenges. One of them is they have very limited access to capital, to affordable loan. So if they want to expand their business, they are limited by the lack of capital. They have very limited access to financial services, to banking services. So the transaction costs are relatively higher for them. They do not have access to market price information that would inform their decision. They have very limited access to reliable weather and navigation information, especially for the fishermen. And there is no rescue mechanism for the fishers who are facing life-threatening situation while they are fishing. And the fish processors, they use very unhygienic fish processing techniques, which diminishes the quality of their product. So the wireless solutions for fishery in Senegal is designed to improve the income and livelihood of artisanal fisheries and processors using wireless technologies. The partners of this project include FHI 360, Qualcomm's Wireless Reach program, Food Security Commission of Senegal, it's a government entity, Tigo, a mobile network operator, and Intermondus, an NGO which operates in Senegal, especially with the fishing community. So we have developed a mobile application and also a server application that provides different functions. It provides up-to-date market information on fresh and processed fish, market prices. It provides weather forecasts, which includes daily and weekly for the fishermen, especially to plan their fishing expeditions. It provides some microfinance loan management tools. We also work with microfinancial institutions so that the fishermen and fish processors can have access to affordable loans to buy a small motor for the boat or to buy fish processing supplies such as salt and so on. And also it also provides health insurance premium calculator and reminder about the payment of their premiums. It has a fish processing best practice and health information delivery mechanism in video, audio, and ebook formats. It has a GPS navigation tools with geofencing capability. I'll come back to some of those tools to provide you more concrete examples. They can store their fishing zones for easy navigation to the fishing spot. They can receive advisories and warnings. It also allows them to obtain ocean state forecasts, which includes wave heights, wind direction, and speed, visibility, which is updated each day. It also has an SOS functionality to notify the Coast Guard when the fishermen are faced with life-threatening situation. So these are some of the screenshots from the WISE application. At the top left, market information, and below it, Joal is the location, one of the locations, and they can access fish market prices, up to date fish market prices for processed and fresh fish, which would make the fishermen and fish processors more competitive, also leading to improving their livelihood. This is also a screenshot from the application, a daily and weekly weather forecast, which enable especially the fishermen to plan their fishing trips. Because when they plan their fishing expedition, it usually takes between a week to 10 days. So it's very, very important for them to get them reliable weather information in advance of their trip. They can also access on their smartphone fish processing best practices, safety and security in the ocean, sustainable fishing, and health information in different formats, including video, EPUB, and also in different ebook formats. This screenshot shows the GPS, one of the GPS functionalities, which would help them to navigate fishing zones. So on the left, they would enter the longitude and latitude, and it would draw a straight line between their starting point and then the destination, and they can save their route using a user-defined name so that they can go back to the same route whenever they choose to. The GPS functionality, it also have what is called geofencing. It helps them to avoid sailing into restricted areas and crossing into international borders. So it would give them an alert saying that you are close to a restricted zone, or you are close to the border of so-and-so country, so that they will avoid the restricted zones. The GPS function, it also allows them to mark danger zones. So they can submit the danger zones with some qualifying description, such as raw, coral reef, or other whatever it is, and that is submitted to the server, and then after verification, such danger zones would be available to all fishermen. And the geofencing capability also works for the danger zones. When they are close to the coral reef, next time it would alert them that you are close to the coral reef and back away. They can also receive ocean state forecast, which is also in visual form, to help illiterate fishermen. So if they see the red, it's high risk, they shouldn't sail. If it is green, everything is safe. But it also provides some the numerical values of the wave heights at different intervals of the day, and the wind speed and the wind direction. It also has a very powerful SOS functionality, which the fishermen use whenever they are faced with life-threatening situations. Suppose there is an engine failure, someone is injured, or the boat has sunk, or there is some suspicious activity in the ocean, or whatever life-threatening situations they might have faced. They can send the exact GPS coordinates of where they are with a description of the danger to the Coast Guard and to their emergency contact persons with the GPS coordinates, so that they can go back and fetch them. Quite a number of fishermen lives have been saved using this functionality. So the WISE application is so far deployed in 3 locations, in Joal, Mbur, and Dakar. I have indicated the locations on the map. And we have trained and provided smartphones to 100 economic interest groups who are serving over 2,200 fishermen and fish processors. And these economic interest groups, they have received a 3-day training on the use of the WISE applications. We also provide them some refresher training when the application is updated. So some of the early outcomes of WISE include a very significant increase in the income of the users, up to $550 a year. The GDP per capita of Senegal is about 1,000, so this is well over half. It's about 55% increase in the GDP per capita of the users of WISE. The fish processors also have reported improving their processing capacity from about 100 kilograms per month to about 1,000 kilograms per month. This is also quite significant. As a next step, we are working with Qualcomm Wireless Reach, the Senegal Food Security Commission, and other partners at expanding the use of WISE to other fish processing and fish landing sites in Senegal. Thank you for your attention.
Bienvenue, Kyle, okay, Sam, Berhane. Thanks to each of you for your wonderful presentations. We will now begin our question and answer segment. We encourage everyone to utilize the question, group chat, and individual chat features to enable the presenters and their organizations to respond to your questions. I would like to ask the first question. Bienvenue. 3 programs have been highlighted today. Do you feel they can be duplicated in other countries with proper stakeholders on the ground?
Well, I think actually, for these 3 programs, if you look at the different areas that we are actually, conducting those programs, those areas are common in every single country, right, in Africa. And I believe that the concept adapted to the realities on the ground, because we believe that that is very important in working with the stakeholders, not only those coming from overseas, but also stakeholders on the ground, to include some, local realities. I believe that that can be easily expanded to other countries.
Wonderful. Next question, I'll direct this one to OK. How have local government agencies contributed to your program?
They've contributed by enthusiastically embracing innovation. And that's one of the surprises that I've had. I have always imagined that we'd face high levels of resistance, but that's simply not been the case. We have faced enthusiastic public sector officials who are eager to try new things, who are eager to embrace innovations, and who celebrate the successes in ways that I have not imagined.
Berhane, would you also like to respond? How have local government agencies contributed?
We work very closely with Senegal's Food Security Commission. It's a government entity with a mandate to monitor food security situation in the country, including market data collection and analysis. The server application for the WISE program is hosted by the Food Security Commission, and they also provided data collectors for fish market prices, and we're working with CSA in rolling out the system. So working with CSA, the Food Security Commission, is very important because they will take over the intervention in the near future.
I will direct the next question to Sam. How did your innovation abilities make a difference in the program?
So I think the measure of the success of a pilot project is not that you start off with something and you test it and then you get results at the end of the day. But if you want to be really successful, what you have to do is you have to be adaptable all the way through the course of your pilot, and you have to iterate through the course of your pilot. So the techniques and methods that you're trying on day 1 are different from the techniques and methods that you're trying after 1 month or 3 months or 6 months. And then that way that you're actually learning from the process of your pilot as well, instead of just kind of getting a yes or no answer about some technology that you developed at the beginning.
Okay, would you also like to respond?
Well, thanks for this question. I think this is a really important question. And the success is really enabled by the fact that partnering with an entrepreneur, such as an entrepreneurial institution such as Instrad, allows us, and quite frankly gives us a latitude to affect a much larger swath of the ecosystem and deliver a much wider value proposition versus simply subcontracting, which instills on us the discipline to focus on the task required by the subcontract.
The next question asks about obtaining wireless access. And I know that OK's program sometimes utilizes satellites in some of those remote locations we saw in his presentations. But the Senegal Fisheries program involves offshore access. Berhane, how did you solve the access issue?
We work with a mobile network operator called Tigo, and Tigo has a relatively good coverage at the fish landing and processing sites because these are major economic zones, so it makes economic sense for them. But we also negotiated with Tigo to tilt the antenna of their transmitters to ensure that fisheries in the ocean have the best possible signal while they are fishing.
Sam, same question on access.
So we teamed up with Safaricom, which is the biggest mobile provider in the area in East Africa, certainly in Kenya. They're also the people behind M-Pesa, the first mobile money platform, and they were able to provide wireless technology. The wireless connection for the tablets.
Berhane, I'd like to direct this question to you. How does Qualcomm contribute in the decision-making process for this program?
We work very closely with Qualcomm's Wireless Reach team on the management and technical development needs of the project. We hold meetings every 2 weeks to touch base on the status of the program and also discuss the different technical needs and obtain technical inputs from the Wireless Reach team. The team is never imposing, but extremely helpful in providing the assistance that we need to provide superior services to our users, which are the fishers and fish processors.
Bienvenue, one last question for you. What is the feedback you've received from the program stakeholders with respect to the effectiveness of your partnering?
Thank you very much. Actually, looking at these stakeholders, for example, in the Nigeria Clinipac 360 program, for example, we work with ECNA. We collaborate with Instrat, and we also collaborate with mobile operator, Etisalat, and also, the healthcare in the different states in Nigeria, and the outcome of the pilot project has been very positive, and actually in some of the states, they are looking at sustainability plans. Even the Ondo state has already decided to deploy, Clinipac based on their own source of funding. So this way of wireless reach collaboration is pretty much focused on, demonstrating the ability of the use of mobile broadband or ICT in improving, other people's life, or improving, entrepreneurship or education, and then move all of that to sustainability, so that when the wireless reach fund is no longer going to be there, the program is going to be sustainable on its own.
Kyle, you're often the quarterback for these programs. What concluding thoughts would you like to share?
Thanks, Lee. And I should say, first of all, thank you so much to everyone who's joined us. I don't have a ton of final thoughts other than a huge amount of appreciation for the questions that are continuing to stream in on the question and answers and on the panelist board that we'll try to approach and answer as soon as we can. I know that there are a varied number of unique solutions and implementations that you've heard about just now, spanning the continent of Africa, if you will, and from some incredible organizations. So a huge thank you to OK, to Sam, and to Berhane for sharing a little bit about the work that they do and how they allow Wireless Reach to be a part of that work through our partnership. One of the things that I'm seeing most often is that people are interested in what efforts Qualcomm or Wireless Reach has in their country. So please do check out our email address, which is wirelessreach@qualcomm.com, and you will reach two people on our team, myself and another woman named Emily, and we will happily and as quickly as possible respond to anyone in terms of getting you more information, setting up time to chat further about your ideas, or connecting you to other folks that may have more information that's relevant to you. Certainly, please do also check out our Wireless Reach website, where you'll find more information on these programs you've heard about today, and you'll hear more about programs all over the world in different parts of Africa and elsewhere. So please do check that out. There's also a contact us form on the website where you can, again, get in touch with Emily and myself, and we'll field your questions and help you get some answers and more information as appropriate. Thank you, Lee, for hosting us and for having us on the webinar. It's been a great opportunity. We really, really hope that everyone as panelists is able to access the webinar afterwards, which will be posted live for you and continuing on. Join us on Twitter under the hashtag partner4D, so the number 4 and the letter D, in terms of continuing the conversation after today. And again, please do continue to contact us for more information.
Thank you, Kyle. I wanted to let those who are listening and viewing to know that we're going to try to extend the question and answer after the webinar ends for a few minutes to try to answer a few more of the questions. And those that aren't answered today, we'll try to, the panelists, I'm sure, will be anxious to answer your questions and respond, and we'll include those in the on-demand link as we send that out within a week after this webinar. So I would like to say a huge thank you to Bienvenue, Kyle, Okay, Sam, and Berhane. These are passionate organizations, but these are passionate people within those organizations, and it has been a work with each of them and to really come to understand their incredible stories. And really, we just feel that their story fits so well into the narrative that we believe is so critical for all of Africa, and really promoting innovation and technology all through the continent. This is our first of a success series related to Africa, and we hope to have many others in the future, and really convey the good things and the success in doing business in Africa. Along those lines, we want to encourage everyone to participate and sign up for the webinar that's coming up, Safer Entry Point Botswana, with Ambassador David Newman. And as a special incentive for having been here today, those that are here will make a special accommodation and try to make it complimentary. But it is a powerful webinar that will go a long way to dispel myths about doing business in Africa. And if we can dispel them for one country, then it's a great starting point for many of the other countries. And I know you really love it. And we also want to make you aware of a virtual conference that we'll be having as Africa Business Portal, January 30th and 31st. And it will focus on innovation and technology in Africa and its ability to impact the continent. And encourage each of you to look forward to that. And there'll be superior networking and virtual exhibit booths and many other things. So thank you so much for each of you who've participated and for each of you who have attended today. And we will look forward to many other opportunities together. Thank you.